Hello and welcome to the NextPowerUp review summary of Shadwen. This is a game by the Trine developers Frozen Byte, and this takes quite a wildly different direction in terms of what Frozen Byte usually put out, and it's sort of moving away from that side-scrolling platform game, and it focuses quite heavily on a character which I believe is quite reminiscent of the Thief in the Trine games, particularly with the grappling hook stuff, but without the bow this time, and there's a bit more of a knifey. It's closer to sticks, I guess, in terms of the stealthy element play. And this game has a massively heavy focus on one of the worst quest designs in history, which is the escort quest. For some unknown reason, the developers have decided, you know what, everybody hates that quest design, let's make a game based around it. And unsurprisingly, it hasn't worked. For what it's worth, this game only takes around about 4 hours to complete, depending on how much you fuck up like I did. So probably a little bit less, depending on how much you like to explore, but there's really no real reason to explore this game whatsoever other than to find an easier way to get to your destination. And it's just riddled with sort of half-assed, half-finished stuff, which is kind of basically what happened to Trine 3. Great game that just sort of finished suddenly and shouldn't have, and it just felt like it was unfinished. And this game feels the same. It's like they had a start, a middle, and end, and they just sort of patched it together as they went along, and then just went, you know what, that's done, let's put it out. And I mentioned in the written review there was the PR campaign where they said the more people played the demo, the lower the game gets. And to be quite honest, if they hadn't have reduced the price of the game, less people will buy it. Because to be honest, for $35 or whatever they were asking for, no, just no. I mean, I'm not one to complain about prices, but for a game of this caliber, $35 is asking a little bit too much, I think. It's not all doom and gloom, obviously. It does have a bit of reminiscence towards Trine games. The graphical style and the art style is very similar to Trine. It like throws back to an awful lot of things, and as I said, the Thief and the main character Shadwen are quite similar. The only difference is this is set in less of a bright, shiny, very colourful, pretty thing, in more of a dark, sort of dusky phase of time, and it does quite well. I think the visual aspect of the game does a good job of conveying this sort of, you are a stealth person creeping along at night or in the early hours of the morning, and it does a decent job of conveying that. And the level architecture is really quite gothic and quite dark, and it very nicely complements the time at which you're creeping around, and everything just feels right. The level design's pretty good. And the other cool system is that is the time and movement system, in that when Shadwen moves, time moves normally, and you can sort of reverse instead of having to restart levels. And it's just a nice little time system, so you can leap from a roof and just stop moving, and then time will stop, and you can sort of look around and consider your surroundings before you make your next move. And all of that stuff is pretty good. It looks great. It's sort of, that movement aspect is okay, and that's about as far as it gets. Beyond that, everything is just, it just feels massively underdeveloped and based around something which was a terrible idea in the first place. The story, I don't care. I don't really know a whole lot about the story. The story isn't really told through the gameplay. The game is split across like 14 or 15 chapters. Each is split into 3 little sections, and between each section, between each sort of these 14 areas, you'll get a little bit of dialogue between Lily, the immensely annoying child that I wanted to kill more than the guards, and Shadwen, and occasionally a little bit of dialogue between the guards as well, which sort of goes over the overarching story plot, which is just crap and uninteresting, and I didn't care. By like the 3rd or 4th section, I just skipped the story bits in between the loading levels because I didn't care. It wasn't interesting. I had absolutely zero like social interaction with any of the characters, and to be quite frank, I didn't like them. Lily's massively annoying. Her sort of scripted AI is absolutely incredibly terrible. Like, the worst aspect of this game is probably the AI, which is just so dumb, like ridiculously dumb, badly scripted, and you just look at it in situ. You just look at what's going on and you think, Christ, this is awful. You'd have thought they'd have done something better. Focusing on Lily, like, basically in this game, as I said, it's an escort quest. The whole game, you're escorting this little child who is the worst child in the world around the place. And basically, if she sees you kill anyone, then you're a terrible person. And if she sees you kill them, or if she sees a body, then it affects the storyline. And what that actually means is you either get a good piece of dialogue play at the end of the level, or a bad piece of dialogue play at the end of the level. And beyond that, who cares? Like, it didn't make a difference to me. Absolutely none whatsoever. I did once attempt to not kill anyone through a level, and I did it the whole way through the level, and then I killed someone, except that Lily was like yards away, miles away. She was around a corner, so she couldn't see me kill the guy. And I dumped him in a bush, and there were no other enemies around, none at all. And all she had to do was walk around that corner and walk to the door that was the exit to the level. And I thought, fantastic, I've finally done it. And she walked around the corner, and then she thought, oh, I'll go into every single bush on the way to the door. Oh, there's a dead body, you get the bad dialogue. And I thought, well, fuck this game. I'm just going to stop trying at this stage because this is taking the piss a little bit. And so I just killed as many people as I liked, and it didn't make a massive difference to the dialogue, I don't think, because I didn't really care about the dialogue, because I wasn't invested in the story, because I wasn't invested in the characters, because the characters are crap. Lily, particularly, I think I hated her mainly because she was a bad mechanic in the game. Escort mechanic is terrible. Her AI was terrible. Her scripting was terrible. Like, you would see occasionally 2 guards patrolling and she would just automatically move. You don't even have to call her. There's a button to call her which says, hey, move here. Half the time it doesn't work, and the rest of the time it's pointless because she moves of her own accord anyway. And sometimes she'll move and then sort of realize, oh no, I'm in the middle of nowhere and a guard's going to see me, and then the scripting bugs out. Except you can't lose the game if she gets seen, because she's never technically seen, because she's like this non-existent piece of scripting that's just wandering through the game. And so she'll just sort of jitter out and get bugged and be like, oh, what do I do now? And then the guards will turn, and then she'll run back to where she was in direct sight of the guards. And she's just, as a character, immensely annoying, pointless, and just terribly, terribly designed. Like, the scripting behind it, the AI scripting, the stealth mechanic is just awful. Like, you can go onto the easy mode in order to see the actual line of sight of the guards, but even when you're on medium and hard mode, the sight sort of cone of the guards is crappy. The guards are all complete idiots. You can be sat in a bush and be moving around in the bush. They're stood there looking directly into the bush and going, dark spirits, why is this box moving around here? Maybe I should go look at that box instead of the bush that is sort of growing rope out of it and pulling a box towards me. It's just real. It's the most inelegant stealth game I've ever played ever. I mean, I played a lot of stealth games which were sort of done on a budget. I mean, Styx I quite liked, which was pretty good. It was clunky, combat was not fantastic, but the stealth mechanics were great. Clandestine, it was quite a budgety title. The stealth mechanics in that, I would argue the budget for that game is probably less and is far superior in terms of stealth than this game is, which is bad for a game that's purely based on stealth entirely. The other aspect is that this game, like I said earlier, the thief has that grappling hook, and the grappling hook system is an interesting addition and would have been a cool addition if it also weren't so janky, because the grappling hook system, you kind of it will connect to anything that's made of wood, except certain things which are made of wood, which is not really explained. And sometimes it will tell you that you can't grappling hook onto objects when you can. So you'll be going through the air and you'll pause time, you'll be like, I'm going to grapple hook onto that post. And then you'll get a big fat red X and it says, no, you can't grappling hook onto this. And it won't give you a reason why. It'll just say, no, you can't do that. That is not a correct area to grappling hook onto. And then you just sort of approach from a different angle, and then suddenly the grappling hook works and you can attach it to that. Except the other issue is, if you jump when you've got a grappling hook already attached and you've let go of the button, if you want to reel yourself in, you can't. You just can't. You either have to fire your grappling hook again in the exact same area and hold the grappling hook button when you fired it, or just drop and abandon that grappling hooked area. The controls around it are just bad. Like, it doesn't make any sort of sensible sense as to why you would design a system to be this way. Like, the grappling hook idea was an interesting idea. It was kind of cool in order to make a player sort of swoop around and do some crazy stuff and, interesting looking takedowns, but it's just been implemented badly, like so many other mechanics in this game, that it just kind of falls flat and you just think, oh, I've got to use a grappling hook. This is going to be a pain in the ass. And, it's an important mechanic and it needed to be designed better. And there are just so many other things which were designed badly. And this game even features traps, except you can very happily and very easily and very quickly go through the game if you just completely ignore traps. There is a loot system in the game which is basically in aid of the traps. And there's chests all over the place and you can pick up parts and blueprints. You make these blueprints in a little menu and you can make multiple traps. You can then place traps, except in order to place traps, the traps are sort of moved and rotated based on your movement analog controllers. So if you move, the trap moves in that direction, and if Shadwen is facing in a direction, then it will rotate the trap based on what direction she's facing. So placing traps is a fucking nightmare, especially when it comes to the poison dart traps, when you want to sort of stand in the doorway and place it on the door frame pointing to the other end of the door. So if someone walks through, they'll get shot by the dart, except it requires so much patience and effort just to place a trap that, like, traps are actually pointless. I went through the entire game not placing a single trap, and I got through the whole thing in 4 hours and had no problems whatsoever. At the one stage I tried to do traps, which was for the video content for this, and the only reason I used traps was to show off the trap function, and by doing so I showed how crap and pointless the trap function is, because I think I used like a distracting trap 3 or 4 times, and I tried to use a poison arrow trap and couldn't get it placed, and it just didn't work properly, and enemies were alerted, and Lily was like, "Hey, you killed someone!" It's just bad. The trap system is pointless. The way that you implement the trap system is bad. You can't place them how you want them. They don't do anything, and what can be achieved with traps can be achieved in half the time and with half the effort by just firing a harpoon grappling hook thing at a box or something wooden and dragging it across the room just for the guards to say, dark spirits, and that's all they say. The guards, by the way, are absolutely infuriating because they all say the same things over and over again. I don't know whether it's like a little homage towards Skyrim and all the soldiers that used to say that they got an arrow to the knee, but the guards just talk about these dark spirits all the time. And they occasionally come up with these little snippets of conversation, except the conversations are the same over and over again. And they've got like 2 guys to do the dialogue for all the guards, except I'm pretty sure it's probably one guy doing 2 very sort of guardy, like Monty Python style voices. And there's only 2 types of guards as well. There's the heavily armored guards, which you just jump on them to kill them, and then there's the other guards, which you can jump on or backstab them to kill them. But you mustn't kill the guards, not in plain sight, otherwise Lily will get angry. So yeah, enemy diversity is kind of lacking. Enemy dialogue diversity is kind of lacking. And just to be honest, the game is objectively not good. I wouldn't say this is an average stealth title. This is not a good stealth title. Just basing a stealth title on an escort quest. On what planet was that a good idea? I don't know. So yeah, it feels like they looked at Trine 3 and went, oh yeah, people were kind of mad we didn't finish that game. We should definitely finish this game. Maybe instead of spending all the time making the mechanics decent and making it like a 2-hour game, we should make a slightly longer game. And just not make the mechanics decent. Hey, let's add in traps as an afterthought. Hey, let's add in a second character for afterthought. Hey, do you think maybe someone would like this co-op element in the game? No, fuck that. We'll just make it a single player game with this just random scripted child that goes places and actually negatively affects the game. Because for the most part, Lily she's a blockade to having fun. A lot of the mechanics are just blocks from having fun. I would have probably enjoyed the game more if Lily didn't exist, which kind of would have screwed over the story, but it's crap anyway, so no one really cares. If they'd done away with traps and just given me a bunch of different weapons and skills or some shit. And that game exists, and it's called Dishonored, and it's pretty good. So, in summary, buy Dishonored. Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, I think this game is being released at a discount of like 10 or 15%, like $14.44 or something for some reason. After the PR campaign brought it down to $16.99. But yeah, I'm not recommending it for that price. I'm not recommending it for any price, even if it was free. Those are 4 hours I'm not going to get back. And that is slightly disappointing for the last title I will be reviewing. As it actually looks like I will be doing a review of My Mum next week, which is one reason why you should not let a community decide what you're going to review the following week and then jokingly suggest a review of your mum. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this review. I certainly haven't. And we'll see you on Saturday for our next week in gaming episode. And I'll give you more details on why reviews are stopping then. So yeah, hope this has been helpful. It's been a painful week.
Why can't I send some of my bread out to my sister?
You need to stay in shape.
Mister needs it outside.